visited Norton last week to tour New Age Industrial, a key aluminum manufacturer employing 160 Kansans. Marshall praised the company's innovation but warned of rising energy costs and upcoming aluminum tariffs that could drive up prices. Company leaders say imported raw billets are essential, and due to limited U.S. smelting and tariffs could raise the cost by up to 8%. Marshall pledged to seek tariff exemptions for Kansas manufacturers and highlighted efforts to bring disaster relief and new trade opportunities to rural communities. Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab has announced several new laws aimed at strengthening elections and improving state government efficiency. Key updates include improved voter roll accuracy, limits on special elections, and new regulations to prevent election official impersonation. For more information on this and other stories, visit nwksradio.net.
Rocket 102.5.
Today and tomorrow, expect warm and breezy conditions with above normal temperatures in the mid to upper 80s and southerly winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour. Keep in mind, fire weather conditions will be elevated but not critical, and overnight lows will be in the 50 to 55 degree range. Wednesday, a trough moving through will bring a chance for some showers and storms, mainly north and west of the line from Goodland to McCook, late in the afternoon and evening. Highs will be around 80, dropping to around 45 overnight. Thursday and Friday, the flow over the Rockies could bring some more scattered showers and storms. We'll be cooler with more seasonal daytime temperatures in the low to mid 70s, and overnight lows will be in the 40 to 45 degree range. Saturday and Sunday, it looks like things will warm up slightly again, highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. Breezy conditions. It will be dry until late Sunday afternoon, overnight, and Monday, where increased chances for showers and storms are possible with another system. This meteorologist Chris Romick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Goodland's Rocket 102.5 is your home for Goodland High School athletics. From touchdowns and three-pointers to home runs, Ross Volkmer has you covered with all the action. Join him for live broadcast on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, your front row seat to the Cowboys and Cowgirls. Select games video streamed on the Goodland Voice. GHS athletics this season are made possible in part by
Yost Farm Supply, Lore Electric, Next Tech Wireless, Hurl Chevrolet GMC, and the Cowboy Corner Express.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with Ultimate Fertilizer and gear up with Eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
To the Goodland High School class of 2025, congratulations. You've worked hard, grown stronger, and made memories that will last a lifetime. Today isn't the end of a chapter, it's the beginning of a new journey filled with promise and purpose. Your community stands with you, proud of who you are and who you're becoming. This message of support is brought to you by these dedicated local sponsors.
Sherman County Community Foundation, the Black and Gold Booster Club, Goodland Regional Medical Center and Family Health Clinic, and the Insurance Agency.
From all of us, well done, class of 2025. Your future starts now.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out,
I kind of compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Brumbaugh fakes the three, fires it from the corner. Yes!
To the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners in front. McLaughlin's got a first down inside the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
O'Connor the other way, driven deep, it is off the wall, and O'Connor and the Wildcats have done it. A walk-off win for the Wildcats against number 12 West Virginia, and the Mountaineers are stunned in the ninth for the second straight ball game. 6 in the bottom of the ninth for Kansas State.
2:05 now, and he hits it to right. It's gonna be a touchable time. Ryan McMahon, number 6.
Massey inches down the line at third. The 1-0 pitch. Fermin drives it into left center field. Game over. Freddie Fermin wins the marathon for the Royals. A base hit into left center field. Michael Massey scores. Royals 2, Red Sox 1.
Loses the basketball. Jokic picked him clean. Back the other way comes Denver. Here's for the lead. Christian, no. Murray, no. He puts it on the floor. Gets in the paint, throws it to Gordon for the lead.
Yeah! And good Monday morning, everybody. We're off and rolling here on the Morning Blitz. It's Monday, May the 12th, and glad you could join us here on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, as well as nwksradio.net and the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on X, Facebook, and YouTube. No matter which way you are listening, thank you so much for doing so here on this Monday. A beautiful start to the day. Temperatures right now sitting around the mid-50s. A little bit of a light breeze out of the south makes it a little bit cooler. Going to be a blustery day today. I see anywhere from possibly 11 to 15, maybe up to 20 mile per hour consistent winds, gusts up to maybe 30. So a little blustery today, but really a great week of weather is on tap for us here as we look down the pipe. You know, you've got temperatures pretty much in the 80s, with the warmest day being tomorrow at 86, all the way to maybe the lowest warm day of the day will be Thursday with 73. So beautiful weather. For a beautiful time of years, particularly in local sports, because you got some postseason sports kind of getting really. Seasons are wrapping up for baseball and softball this week. Some postseason baseball by the end of the week. We'll get to more on that in just a little bit. You've got a league track going on later this week. League golf is today, actually, for GWAC and stuff. So you've got plenty of stuff going on here this week. So I got some beautiful weather for it though, and look forward to seeing it all. We will have some coverage of some local sports this week. I know last week we did not due to some weather and due to some forfeiting and things of that sort and some other things going on. We will have some Goodland Cowboy and Cowgirl coverage this week. We will be at home Tuesday covering Goodland Cowgirl softball senior day as they take on Cimarron. And then we will have the first round of the postseason for Goodland Cowboy baseball on Friday, which will be down on the road at Holcomb. More on that in a little bit, but hope everyone had a great weekend. I had a very busy weekend. My goodness, the weekend was loaded with stuff to do. I was over in Colby on Friday doing PA for the Colby Track Invitational, the high school, not the junior high. I salute those who were there all 15 hours. It was a long day. The track meet racked up around 11:10, 11:15 Central Time on Friday night, but it was fun to watch a lot of area athletes run, compete, and see some great performances. Some great races as well. So did that on Friday, had my own kids' little elementary track meet here in Goodland on Saturday morning, which was fun to see all the little ones out there running and competing and having a good time. And then had graduations to go to, went to a couple graduations over in Colby for a couple of kids, which it was great to see some of the Colby athletes and things of that sort. And then had a birthday party to be at up in Nebraska on Sunday. So it was a busy weekend for me. I hope some people got a little bit more rest or got a little bit more things done. But mine was a productive weekend, but definitely did a lot of things. That is for sure. As always, F&B Bank text line is open at 785-899 22-22. We will have Ryan Carter, Colby Community College baseball coach, joining us on this Monday. The Trojan season came to an end on Friday, and so we'll get some thoughts on that from Ryan Carter. We will get to plenty of other things throughout today's show, and you know what's going on a Monday. It's weekend winners and it's weekend losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners.
Loser! You're a loser!
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
Gonna be a winner, be a winner.
As always, you are welcome to chime in with your weekend winners and losers. 785-899-2222. That is the FNB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. Listener Michael chiming in with his winners of the weekend. No surprise here. His Boston Red Sox taking 2 of 3 from the white-hot Royals. And he said it probably should have been a sweep if it wasn't for a heck of a pitcher's duel on Friday. But nonetheless, Michael chiming in with his winners of the weekend being the Boston Red Sox. Like I said, get your weekend winners and losers in FB Bank text line 785-899-2222. All right, I'm going to start off in college baseball. It was a great weekend for both KU and K-State baseball teams. K-State takes 2 out of 3 from West Virginia. A really, really good showing from them, as they take on 12th ranked West Virginia, the top team in the Big 12 standings this past weekend at home at Toyton Family Stadium, and they get 2 out of 3. They had an unbelievable come-from-behind victory on Friday. They scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 9th and came back and won over West Virginia 8-7. They would lose on Saturday 10-3, but would, in a run-scoring fest, win 14-9 on Sunday to take 2 out of 3 against the 12th ranked team in West Virginia. That was really the first ranked opponent that the Wildcats had faced since pretty much the beginning of the season at the Frisco Classic, when they took on LSU and lost. Nonetheless, it's been a great year. It's been a pretty good year for K-State baseball. Maybe not the best they've seen. They've got a challenging, semi-challenging series on the road at Cincinnati to wrap things up here this next weekend before the Big 12 baseball tournament. But a good weekend for K-State because they take 2 out of 3 from number 12 ranked West Virginia, helping bolster that postseason resume, hopefully that RPI, which they follow in college baseball quite a bit. But it was even a better weekend for KU baseball. They were able to take the series over BYU this weekend and just continue what has been an unbelievable season for them. They are now 39-14 as KU, 17-10 in Big 12 play. That is the most wins in a season for the program since 2009. So they're on a trend of being one of the better baseball teams that they've had in Lawrence in a couple of decades. But also with the win, maybe the more important thing was they set school records with the wins this past weekend for most regular season and Big 12 conference wins. So they are just finding a way to put together one of the more impressive seasons they've ever seen there in Lawrence, and they'll have a chance to possibly put a really big icing on the cake this next weekend when they have to take on West Virginia. They got to finish up the regular season against West Virginia. So 2 of the top teams in the Big 12 baseball standings, 2 of the top 3 are going to face off here in the final weekend of the regular season. It'll have a lot to do with what the final seeding will be going into the Big 12 baseball tournament and kind of what that RPI will look like as well. Speaking of the RPI for Kansas and Kansas State baseball, Kansas right now sitting at 34 going into this week, and Kansas State not far behind them at 36. Those 2 teams right there, Kansas at 39-14 overall, K-State at 30-21. Their RPI is in a very, very good spot as they continue to work their way up in the RPI, but they are currently sitting at 34 going into 34 and 36 respectively for KU and K-State going into the final weekend of the regular season. That doesn't always mean that you're going to make the postseason tournament, even though you need about they take around 60 some teams. Not a guarantee that they're going to be in. Now, we were busy with Eric Sorensen this past Friday, telling the story of Northeastern, who had a 33 RPI and didn't get in. There's no guarantee But you're putting yourself in a pretty good position with that 36 RPI. But if you could go and get a weekend series win here coming up here this weekend, and then follow that up with a really good showing in the Big 12 baseball tournament, it could be a really, really special season, as KU and K-State could both be in the NCAA tournament for baseball. So first winner of the weekend, KU and K-State baseball. K-State taking 2 of 3 from West Virginia, and KU with one of their best seasons that they've ever had, continuing to roll along with the wins here this weekend at BYU. Second winner of the weekend, going outside the listening area to the SEC Conference, where SEC softball is a winner of the weekend. So the regular season is done, and conference tournament play is done. It wrapped up this past weekend for college softball. So we are on to regionals here this next weekend. That is when regional play going. So they had the bracket show, the release of the bracket for the softball, and SEC softball is absolutely flexing. The Southeastern Conference in softball, with the bracket that is out here, that'll get started here this week, boasts 9 regional hosts and 14 teams in the field. 9 regional hosts and 14 teams in the field. Most for a single conference in tournament history. So you have, and by the way, they have 8 of those teams are, I think, number 1 seeds. So you've got Texas A&M is the number 1 overall seed. Oklahoma is number 2. Florida is number 3. Arkansas is number 4. Florida is number 5. Texas is number 6. Tennessee is number 7. And South Carolina is number 8 before you finally get to number 9, where UCLA is a top 10 seed. And then you have LSU. So 9 of the top 10 teams are from the SEC, and they are all at home. They have 10, then they have another host site being Alabama, which was the 15th overall seed. But just absolute dominance by the SEC. Think about that. They have of the 16 host sites, 11 of them are going to be 10 of them are going to be played at a SEC softball stadium and an SEC town. Just pure dominance by the SEC. So big props to the SEC softball. I mean, that is an unbelievable stat. They have 9 regional hosts and 14 teams in the field, the most for a single conference in tournament history. ACC has a conference record 9 teams in the field as well and 3 hosts. I mean, it just tells you where the best baseball and softball is being played right now is in the southeastern part of the state, whether it's the Southeast Conference or the ACC at this point in time. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some mixes. Nebraska made the field. Texas Tech. There are plenty of other teams that made the field. But, I mean, geez, you just talk about dominance of the SEC. Now, we'll see how many of those teams advance to the Super Regionals and then advance into the Women's College World Series at Oklahoma, or down in Oklahoma. But, man, to get things going, you talk about just a bracket that is absolutely by the SEC. And that is stacked on top of what was a really unbelievable showing in SEC for men's basketball. Remember, they had the tournament record, I think, 14 teams in the NCAA tournament field. So they're getting 14 teams in the NCAA men's tournament field. They've got 14 teams in the softball field. Football was a little bit down this year. Football was a little bit down in comparison to previous years, but other sports are certainly picking up the slack in the SEC conference. That is for sure. Once again, unbelievable showing by SEC softball in the what will be the regional round of the postseason softball tournament, which gets going this weekend. That's ridiculous. So, winner of the weekend, SEC softball. And a final winner of the weekend, just a quick shout out to local high school seniors. Congratulations to all the area seniors out there graduating, whether it was this past weekend, on Sunday yesterday, or this past weekend, or for our other graduates coming up here this coming weekend. Congratulations. They are winners of the weekend. To make it through the years of high school sometimes can be challenging for some kids. It can be really challenging academically. Sometimes it can be challenging athletically. Sometimes you can get both of those things. Socially can be a challenge as well. So congratulations to all those making it through and becoming high school seniors this past weekend. Like I mentioned off the top of the show, got a chance to go over to a couple Colby graduations this past weekend. That was fun to talk to some of the kids over there at Colby and have some conversations with them as they get set to take the next step in their career. So congratulations to all local high school seniors. You're winners of the weekend. No matter if you graduated this past weekend or the next weekend, you are winners of the weekend. All right, moving on to weekend losers here on a Monday morning on the Morning Blitz. As always, F&B Bank text line open at 785-899-2222 if you'd like to hit me up with your weekend winners or losers. We move on to losers, and there's no bigger losers this weekend than Bill Schmidt, Bud Black, and the Colorado Rockies. My goodness, what a weekend it was there in Denver for that baseball team. So let's just go through. Let's have a quick little recap, why don't we? So for those who didn't follow along, the Rockies were beaten by the Padres this weekend, 2-1. That's right. They did get a series win. They won yesterday 9-3 over the Padres, which did put it in to what was an 8-game skid. But in the process, of course, going into the weekend, they had just been swept by the Tigers. And then they had the Padres opening up on Friday, which they lost in a little bit of a Coors Field special, 13-9. Then before the game on Saturday, there was a press conference, and Bill Schmidt and all those guys, expressed their, let's try to see I think I had these comments written down somewhere, but expressed, that, his belief that they were going to keep Bud Black around and that they were just going to keep on going. They'd made that kind of decision. They were going to keep going with Bud Black, and that was said and gave him kind of the vote of support is what I want to say. So they give him, I'll actually read this comment here from you. This was this is what it was from via the Denver Post. This was Bill Schmidt talking about trying to keep Bud Black around, or keeping Bud Black around. This was prior to Saturday's game. It says, quote, "I feel for the fans. I feel for the people around here. I know we are better than what we have played, but we are not good right now. We have to battle through it and get to the other side. There's still a lot of games left. I think we can turn around, but it's going to take a whole group to do it. The guys are working to get better. I think our guys are still playing hard, and that's what I look at. Guys are working hard every day. They come with energy for the most part. Interesting. I don't think we are at that point of firing Bud Black. Guys still believe in what we are doing and where we are headed. We are all frustrated." That was Bill Schmidt prior to Saturday's 21-0 thumping. 21-0. They were blasted by 3 touchdowns and 3 extra points by the Padres in baseball on Saturday. And that led to a retraction pretty much of that thought from Bill Schmidt and the firing of Bud Black. And so Bud Black is gone at the age of 67. After leading the Colorado Rockies to a record of 544 and 690, becoming the winningest manager in the history of this franchise, the Colorado Rockies. But once again, you talk about the disastrous start that the Rockies are on at this point in time. 7-33 at this point in time. It is the worst start in Major League Baseball history since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. I was reading what's the Rockies are on pace for a record of, trying to see what that was. It was a ridiculous stat. I'll have to see if I can track that one down again, but they are on pace for just an unbelievable, it's just a horrible record. That could be the worst in baseball. It's definitely going to be worse than what the White Sox were last year, what many people consider to be the worst baseball in modern era or modern time here in the last couple of decades. But nonetheless, here is the stat for you. Sunday's win over the Padres put the Rockies at 7-33 for the year, on pace for a record 134 losses this season. Over the first 42 games of the season, the Rockies have been outscored by 128 runs. And Saturday, the Rockies suffered, of course, a franchise worst 21-0 loss to the Padres. But that is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to the very, very bad stats that continue to be popping up here with the Colorado Rockies. I mean, there are you're talking about batting averages that are really, really bad. 19 and a half games out of first in the NL West, trailing 4 playoff contenders who are all above 500. I mean, you can go up and down and read a whole bunch of articles today talking about the Rockies. I mean, it's finally come to the however you want to say it, it's kind of just come to a head, if that's what you want to call it. And people are starting to realize, like, hey, you know what? This team is really, really bad. I mean, it's on the front page of The Athletic. The leading article says great views and bad baseball. And I also love the quote from Bud Black's peers saying that I don't think Casey Stengel, considered one of the best baseball managers in the history of the game, could change the season that the Rockies are having. Once again, this goes back to Bill Schmidt and to Dick Monfort, who, by the way, Monfort had a quote after the firing of Bud Black. Dick Monfort said, quote, "Our play so far this season, especially coming off the last 2 seasons, has been unacceptable. Our fans deserve better, and we are capable of better. While we all share responsibility in how this season has played out, these changes are necessary. We will use the remainder of the 25 season to improve where we can on the field, to evaluate all areas of our operation so we can properly turn the page into the next chapter of Rockies baseball." I want to thank Bud Black and Mike Redmond, who was also let go, by the way, for their contributions to the organization across their 8 years here. I appreciate them for their hard work, dedication. Wish them nothing but the best going forward. That's Dick Monfort. Yes, that is the quote. Once again, that was pretty much 24 hours after they had kind of sat down and said, I think we're going to ride out with Bud Black. Then 21-0 after, like, you know what? We got to make a change. I mean, that is, it's hit really bad spots, folks. It's hit really bad spots. It's been hidden out here, kind of in the, in the Rockies and in the western half of the United States. Well, the stench has gotten so bad for Rockies baseball, it's now hit all the way on the East Coast, where people are now writing about it. It really is bad. And so there's not a bigger loser of the weekend than really Colorado Rockies baseball, on top of the fact that Bud Black and Mike Redmond and everybody else that they've got in there. It's a bad showing for the Rockies right now. So Bill Schmidt, Bud Black, Dick Monfort, the Rockies, big time losers of the weekend. Bud Black is gone. Warren Schaefer will take over as the interim manager at this point in time. Once again, I agree with a lot of the cohorts of Bud Black saying, I don't know if Casey Stengel could have pulled this plane out of the nosedive that it's in. I don't think it's possible. They're not really doing a great job of developing young talent. They don't have, the pieces that they went out and acquired have done really nothing except be spending time on the operating table like Chris Bryant. So it's just a really, really, really bad time for the Colorado Rockies, and they're going to take their thumpings this year. And it's going to look even worse because they're playing in the best division in baseball. Like we mentioned, with 4 teams above 500 and all vying for playoff spots. It's going to be really, really bad. The question is, once again, will the Rockies finish with the worst record in baseball since the 1962 Mets? That's the real question. Can they get to 40 wins? I don't know. I do not know. I saw a stat, and I can't find it, what they were on pace for. I think it's like 125-34. I think that's what it was. Ugh. Bad. Anyway, Rockies losers of the weekend again. A couple other quick losers here real quick before we get to break. Derek Carr and the Saints. Quarterback Derek Carr announced that he would retire here at the before this season. So the Carr kind of, I think he was trying to make his way back. He's been dealing with injuries, and so Derek Carr says he's gonna hang it up, and so he leaves the Saints after being there for a couple years, and of course had other stints at the Raiders and other spots along his career. But there was an interesting stat that my wife gave to me, and I thought it was great, which applied in perfectly to weekend losers. Derek Carr retires from the NFL as the only quarterback in history to have lost to 31 NFL teams, and as the only quarterback with 40,000 passing yards and 0 playoff wins. 0. So once again, only quarterback in history to have lost all 31 teams, and the only quarterback to throw for 40,000 career passing yards and does not have a single playoff win. Tough. But Derek Carr, a loser of the weekend, and puts the Saints in an interesting predicament. They drafted Tyler Shug, or Shao. I think it's Shug is how you say his name. It's always confused me for some reason. They have Spencer Rattler still there. They've got another quarterback there. But I tell you, when you do it like this after the draft, you kind of put your franchise in a bad spot because, they probably could have done something before the draft to get it done. So that's why the Saints are kind of losing, kind of like, well, shoot, I don't know if we like anybody that we have, and I don't think Suge's ready to go. And really puts new head coach Kellen Moore in a bad spot. But Derek Carr, I understand, hangs it up because of health issues. But, man, bad stats, tough bad stats. 40,000 passing yards, no playoff wins for Derek Carr. And he lost to every single team. 31 NFL teams. And so he's lost 31 NFL teams in his career. So tough one there. So Derek Carr, a loser of the weekend. All right, we've got to get to break. It's 7:33 Mountain, 8:33 Central Time here on a Monday, May the 12th. Going to be a beautiful day. A little blustery out there, 58 currently on our way to a high of 82, 80 and 86. 82 and 86, the highs for the first 2 days of the week. A little bit of a cool down into the 70s for the rest of this week. Continue to get your thoughts and comments in the FNB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. Brian on the FNB Bank text line says, sell the team, Montfort. Sell the team. Talking about the Colorado Rockies. We got to do something. They should take all that money that they're getting from that whole downtown area in Lodo and invest it. That's what they should do. Invest it. Get yourself some better players, some better coaches, all that kind of stuff. All right, let's get to break. Ryan Carter, Colby Community College baseball coach, will join us next. The Trojans had a tough weekend. We'll get to that here coming up in just a little bit. You're listening to The Morning Blitz.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Monday, May 12th. On the overnight last night, July corn higher 5 1/4 at $4.55. September up 4 1/2 at $4.33 3/4. December up 4 cents at $4.46. March corn up 3 3/4 at $4.60 3/4. July soybeans up 17 1/2 on the overnight at $10.69 1/4. August up 18 1/4 at $10.65 1/2. September up 19 3/4 at $10.46 1/2. November beans up 19 3/4 at $10.50 1/4. Chicago wheat July contract lower 1/4 cent at $5.21 1/2. September down 1/2 cent at $5.36. December down 1/2 at $5.57 3/4. March soft wheat down 1/4 at $5.76 3/4. Kansas City wheat July contract higher 3/4 cents at $5.18 1/4. September up 3/4 at $5.32 1/2. December up 1/4 at $5.54 1/2. March hard wheat unchanged at $5.73 3/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $1,075 at $42,399. The S&P up $174 at $5,852. The Nasdaq up $793 at $20,929. Gold lower $109 an ounce at $3,234. Crude oil up $2.29 a barrel at $63.30. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Splitter, Jared Law, Heather Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Imagine having more days of perfect weather, a combine that's more powerful, or even more soybean bushels per acre at harvest. With Revitec fungicide, you don't have to imagine that last one, because it's proven to deliver up to 9.5 more soybean bushels per acre than the competition. With results like that, it's easy to see why Revitec fungicide is the #1 recommended fungicide by soybean farmers. Visit Revitec.com and talk to your BASF retailer today. Always read and follow label directions.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Farmers State Bank of Oakley proudly congratulates the class of 2025. Your the best.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
(8:38) Central, 7:38 Mountain Time, Monday, May the 12th. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. Thanks again for the comments and texts on the F&B Bank text line, 785-899-2222. We will get to the leftovers, get to some more local sports, a little bit of an NBA playoff update for you as well, and some news about the Chiefs' schedule coming up in the walk-off. So stick around. Plenty more to get to here on the Morning Blitz. On this Monday show, we're pleased to be joined now on the phone by one of our favorite guests. Colby Community College baseball coach Ryan Carter joins us now via the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Good morning, Coach. How was the weekend?
It felt weird. It felt, anybody that's been through a hectic season, it abruptly comes to an end, and you try to figure out what to do with your time. Fortunately, I had parents in town, had family, had stuff to do. My wife wasted no time in putting me to work in the yard, so it was no feeling sorry for ourselves, at least not laying around. I was feeling sorry for ourselves mowing and picking weeds.
There you go. Making the most of that time, I guess. For those who don't know, Colby Community College baseball wins on this previous Wednesday, dominant fashion, 14-3 over Fort Scott, needing just one more win to advance into the Central District Championships in Salina here coming up on Wednesday, and drop the final two games on Thursday and Friday to Fort Scott, 8-4 and 11-1. Looking back at this, just from looking at the box scores and just kind of seeing the scores, I mean, you can kind of take away the fact that Game one, you guys came out, you threw your best guys, your offense was rallied behind them, and it kind of felt like as if maybe pitching depth was a bit of an issue all season long, and it kind of showed a little bit at times in this series.
Yeah, I think that the two biggest takeaways for the second two games is, the last two games is, when you're playing in the playoffs and you're playing a team that's equally matched with you, you can't make defensive mistakes, and we had a couple of errors that cost us, crooked numbers, and our 2, 3, 4 hole hitters who have been hot all year, arguably the best, 2, 3, 4 punch in the West anyway. All three of them hitting over 400 and having a great year, especially Isaiah Padilla. And I think between those three in the last two games, we might have got 2 hits, maybe 3 hits, no extra base hits. So it's just when they shut down those three guys and we make a few mistakes, those inches get tighter, and a lot for the whole season we bit, but we didn't break. And those last 2 games we just couldn't hold the line and just broke. And it's just baseball. It's I think that they played better than us the last 2 games, and they took advantage of our mistakes. And the only solace that I have is that John Hill, the coach of Fort Scott, is one of the greatest human beings I know. So, if you're going to get beat, you might as well get beat by somebody that you respect and know that they do it the right way.
I mean, I'm sure absolutely it's a gut-wrenching deal knowing you're just one win away from advancing in the postseason. You just can't get that done. I mean, what in your mind, after you lose that second game, because you can understand, game 2, they come out, their season's on the line. They have to win to stay alive. And then game 3, it's everybody's got pressure, because if you lose, it's over. You win, the season goes on. What's the mentality or the vibe in the huddle prior to a game 3 of a winner-take-all type scenario, like when there's pressure on both teams to try and go out and get a win?
Well, you hope that your preparation through the year, we talked about it, and we talked about at the beginning of the year that we wanted to be playing games in May that mattered. So, the phrase, pressure is a privilege. And, our guys were as prepared and as loose, and there wasn't a lot of tension. There wasn't a lot of, now, starting, 5 or 6 freshmen in the lineup, you just can't prepare for the playoffs. You can't prepare, those moments are only learned by being in the moment, right? You can't visualize yourself into it, and you can't, replicate that kind of pressure, that kind of feeling in practice. So, and Fort Scott was an old team. They had a lot of redshirt freshmen. They had, they actually had, 4 or 5 redshirt sophomores. So they were a little bit older, and, maybe they were just able to out slow heartbeat us, if that's a phrase, right? Because, when you look at the great ones that throughout history that always come through in the playoffs, they talk about them having a slow heartbeat. They're able to slow the game down. They're able to harness their emotions and execute. So, I think that there's a lot of things that we could think about, but at the end of the day, I just whether you lose by 1, you lose by 10, your season comes to an abrupt end, and it stings a little bit, and the emotions release. And as a coach, we've mourned for your 24, 36 hours, and now it's our mantra, it's do the next right thing. What's the next thing we have to do? And for us, it's get all these sophomores placed, exit meetings with the freshmen, and finish recruiting for next year.
The 31-27, the final record overall, 17-15 to finish up conference play, Coach. I mean, how would you grade this season? I know it's up and down. The record will kind of say that, but how would you grade this season?
I'm going to grade the season as coming off back-to-back 14-win seasons. Sometimes when that spirals, it's just hard to stop it, and to get to where we were, right? Our sophomores really did a little culture change for our program and got us back to where we wanted to be. So, I'm going to grade us as an A because, we more than doubled our win total. We won more games actually this year than we did the last 2 years combined. Hosted a home playoff. We set some goals, and, we went about, our goal was to get to 30 wins, finish above 500, and host a home playoff. And we did all of those. I think that, looking back, it's, you want to second guess and look at this game and that game. But the great thing about sports, and especially for me, baseball, is at the end of the year, your record and your stats are exactly what you're supposed to be. You can't, there's no woulda, coulda, shouldas. I mean, we were right where we're right where we were supposed to be, whether we like it or not. And, but I'm very pleased with our season. I think it was a success. I know that, our number one priority as a program is to develop players and human beings, and I know that we did that as well.
We're visiting with Ryan Carter, Colby Community College baseball skipper. The Trojan season came to an end this past week, losing in the first round of the Region 6 playoffs to Fort Scott, 2-3. You talked about it, the next step. First and foremost, your sophomore class that's exiting and getting those guys placed. What's that process like from your perspective?
Well, coming off of the last couple of years, it's a little bit difficult just because we were pretty irrelevant. So going out and making a splash, going on a 12-game win streak, having a couple guys who are having career years, Padilla, Zadunik, Galenza, definitely gets people noticing us. So, honestly, we're almost completely done with the placement of our guys, and we look at it a little bit different. Like, we're trying to find the right fit, not just a good fit. So, it's coaching style, it's financial aid availability, that type of stuff. So, I think we might have 1 or 2 that are still kind of straggling, deciding what they want to do. But for the most part, all of our guys are placed in good homes. So, we didn't have a big class. Next year will be a little bit more challenging, but hopefully we can piggyback off the success we had this year and get some of those guys, moving maybe in the fall so that we don't have as much to do in the spring.
Where did some of the guys kind of end up going? Are they going Division II, NAIA? I mean, I know in previous years, there's been some guys have gone to Old Dominion. It just kind of depends.
Yep. So Isaiah Padilla signed at Campbell University in North Carolina, which is a Division I. Matthew McKenzie signed at UT Tyler, a top 10 Division II down in Texas. Jack Schroeder and who's our other guy? I go to Raffi Ranger, signed at University of Pikeville, UPike, and in Kentucky. It's an NAI program in Kentucky. Lucas John York in Nebraska, and NAI in Nebraska. And Tyler Smith's still deciding. He's got 5 or 6 offers on the table. Gavin Galenza's got 5 or 6 offers on the table, and Jackson McDonald's going to, I think it's Arts and Science in Oklahoma, which is another top 15, 20 NAIA program in Oklahoma. So I feel that we've done a pretty good job with finding our guys quality programs. But the big thing is trying to get them through school with the least amount of debt as possible. So that's another thing that we look at in trying to help them find a school.
How about the you talked about of course the freshman exit meetings, and that can be telling guys what you need to work on to get better for next year, what we expect out of you next year. Those freshman exit meetings, how much of those are just kind of like what I said, are they something else? What are you trying to get accomplished with those exit meetings? And how many of your guys do you expect to be back next year from this freshman class that helped lead to this turnaround season?
Well, we don't have a lot of attrition usually. I would assume that we will retain 100% of our guys. But the exit meetings are, here's where you're at, here's where you need to be. Here's your game plan for the summer. Questions, comments, that type, from them to make sure. I think one of the big things is to make them, to get them into the summer, without any questions in their head on where they're at and where we see them going. It definitely is. Maybe there's a goal of we're trying to put on this much weight, or we're trying to work on this pitch, or we need to come back a little bit more agile, or but we tell all of our freshmen, this is our mantra, is that we're going to go out and try to find someone better than you, and your job is to work hard enough that we can't. So if we can get into that kind of cycle, it usually breeds, year in and year out success.
Visiting with Colby Community College baseball skipper Ryan Carter. Their season is over, getting ready for the off season to an extent. You mentioned it, you're going to go out and do some recruiting. What are you looking for when you're going out and recruiting at this point in time, or where are you at in the recruiting process at this point in time?
Oh, we're just about done. And it's not by choice. I think that the culture shift, especially with social media really becoming involved with a lot of recruiting, there were years where I would go into the summer still needing 12 guys. We have, maybe 2 to 4 spots to fill, a couple, a scholarship spot and maybe 3 or 4 walk-on spots, invited walk-on spots. And, so it's like I'm getting emails from 2026s, 2027s, and, it's really, at the junior college level, I really feel that, you're living one year at a time, so we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. But our recruiting is close to being done, so, the summer is out there trying to find, maybe that one diamond in the rough, and then, starting the game plan for the following year, building relationships, fostering those relationships that we already have. And just like anything, we're trying to find that 1 or 2 guys that nobody really knows about and try to hit the jackpot on them.
And for you personally, Coach, letting you go on this, what changes for you during the next couple of months?
It's
besides more yard work, of course. Obviously, we know there's more yard work to be done.
Well, it's family time, right? It's really focusing on, our life is full of seasons, and the seasons have different, the fall season for me is demanding. Obviously, spring season is super demanding, and having 2 teenage daughters at home and trying to spend some time, as much time as we can with them as they start to move on. So for me, the summer is really about selling out to spending time with the family. Just because that's the season that we're in, and obviously there's some work that needs to be done in the office and around the house, but it's for me, that's the summer is all about family time.
I guess I forgot to ask, do you have any guys that are going to be returners that go out and play summer ball somewhere?
Well, we do. Now, a lot of times I really recommend our freshmen take a summer off. They've been doing baseball nonstop, some of them for 5 or 6 years without a break at all. So a lot of them I might take the summer off, work out, train. But we do have a few, And then our sophomores will move on. We have a little bit of a connection with a really great summer league in Canada. Those teams draw, up to, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 a night. Sometimes they average, 1,000 to 1,200. So it's a really good experience for them. But summer ball's really shifted and changed, right? It's expensive. It used to be that you could play summer ball around where you lived, and it was, cheap, if not free. And, now everything costs, and it's, so it's individual. I think for a lot of guys, sometimes this summer, if we find the right fit, we'll move them on. But, a lot of times I think, these guys can use a summer to just decompress a little bit, get in the weight room, and maybe work on some deficiencies.
Coach, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending some time. We'll catch up with you in the summer when your Dodgers, 30 games above everybody else. All right, we'll catch up on that.
Well, we can talk about it. We'll see you in a couple weeks at the I think the softball regional at Goodland. I'll come by and say hello.
I would love that. That'd be great. We will see you then. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, Ross. Yep.
Once again, great stuff there. That is Colby Community College skipper. That is Ryan Carter joining us here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. Thanks to him for joining us all season long. We'll catch him up in the summertime. It's always fun to visit with him about his Dodgers and, of course, baseball in general as we get into the slow times of the summer months. But Trojan season comes to an end with a record of 31-27 overall, 17-15 in conference play. And like I said, the last 2 years, they want to combine 28 games. So to get to 31 this year, a great step in the right direction. Hopefully they can build upon that in 25 and 26. All right, we got about 5 minutes left to go in the program. Quick break. Back to wrap the show with some leftovers next in the Blitz.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Wearing your seatbelt is the simplest way to protect yourself from the most dangerous activity you'll do today, driving. But if you won't buckle up for yourself, do it for your loved ones, your spouse, parents, or even children. Buckle up for them. A message from the Kansas Department of Transportation.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm, with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with ultimate fertilizer and gear up with eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
From the latest scores to the hottest takes,
60% of the time, it works every time.
we're bringing the game to you. You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
As always, big thank you to our guest, Ryan Carter, for joining the program. Always love to have him on. And, of course, you missed the conversation. Kind of talk about putting an end to a baseball season from a coach's perspective. You can get that, of course, go back and listen to it on the podcast or watch the show anytime on YouTube at NWKS Radio on YouTube, or go to our website, nwksradio.net. You can go to the Morning Blitz page, and you can watch the show there as well after it is over. Finish up the show with some leftovers here rather quickly. Local sports, first and foremost. Regular season came to an end on Friday for Goodland Cowboy baseball. They split with Cimarron. Cimarron's been a really good team this year, so the Cowboys taking game 1 2-1, then lost in game 2 10-0. Cowboys finished the regular season 9-11. That is a 6-win improvement from last year, which is a really good step in the direction for that program after a really challenging season last year, despite the players that they had on it. The postseason begins here on Friday. They will be on the road. Unfortunately, that 9-11 record puts them as the 8th seed out of 8, so they will have to go to the number 1 seed, Holcomb, and take on the Longhorns again for the second consecutive year. We'll see if this year maybe they can pull the upset. Cowboys hung tough with Holcomb, had a chance to beat them. when they played up here in Goodland a couple weeks ago. We'll see. They might have a chance. Maybe they have a chance to go on the road and get it done and stay alive in the postseason. We will see. Colby, the postseason bracket is out. They are the number 2 seed, are the Eagles. They will be hosting Scott City on Friday. By the way, Eagles will not have to leave home. They are home for the first round. And then, of course, regionals, the final 4 of the regionals are hosted there at Young Memorial Field. Some track and field. What was I mentioned early in the show? I went to the Colby Track Invitational on Friday. I was there doing public address announcing, which is always fun. I love going and doing that. It's fun to go watch a lot of the area tracksters from all sizes of school. You know, Weskin's got a phenomenal track. He's got a really good track team. I think also some really good youngsters coming up too. I saw the little kids track meet this weekend. But there's other great showings. Hoxie's got a great track team. In fact, Hoxie girls just edged Colby by a single point to win the big school division. They at the Colby Track Invitational, they divide up. They've got smaller schools, the 1A schools, and then they've got the 2A and 4A schools in two separate divisions, and they give out trophies based upon that. Golden Plains had the best showing, I think, of the small schools. Girls came in second behind Ness City, who's got a really good track program in the girls' side. And then Golden Plains boys won the small title, just besting Wallace County. Norton boys won the big title. Colby came in third. Goodland finished in fourth. And like I mentioned, Hoxie just edging Colby by a single point. I think it was like 3 points separated the top 3 spots in the big school division, but Hoxie gets it done over Colby by a single point on the girls' side. And I tell you what, it came down. It was a late night. I mean, it got done at like 10 after 11 Central Time. But boy, that last race was worth waiting for. That was really, really entertaining. The 4x4, Goodland's Chayton Goodwin just about chased down Jordan Jones of Colby. Lost by 0.5. He had about 8 to 10 meters to catch up. It was a heck of a run. I think I've heard rumor he ran that split in like 48 seconds. That's unbelievable. Absolutely nuts. So what a showing there from Chayton Goodwin, even though the Eagles get the win and they do edge the Cowboys in the final team standing. It's a pretty good showing there. A little bit of golf. Hoxie finished second at the Hill City Golf Invite Friday. Indians finished 1 stroke back of Plainville. They had a 309. Plainville had a 308. Greeley County has a golf invite today. Wallace County will be there. And, of course, it's also league golf for GWAC happening today as well. So good luck to all the area golfers. And a couple more quick stops here on the leftovers. Royals dropped their first series since April 19th against Detroit. They were beaten by the Red Sox. Said that earlier in the show because Michael had it as his winner of the weekend. They beat them 2-1. Royals have a day off today. The Rockies, though, by the way, are back in action here tonight. The Rockies will be on the road taking on the Texas Rangers, 6:05 Mountain Time, first pitch on KLOE. And an update from the NBA and the playoffs. The Nuggets had a chance to go up 3-1. They blow it late. The Nuggets. They were up by 7 at one point in time, undone by an 11-0 run by the Thunder, capped by 2 really big threes by Case and Wallace. There's also a 5-second call that hurt the Rockies as well. Hurt the Nuggets as well, excuse me. So they end up losing 92-87. That series is tied at 2 games apiece going back to OKC. And the Pacers look like they are going to knock off the top seed Cavaliers. They beat them 129-109. They were up by 41 points at one point in time in the first half. They lead that series 3-1. Tonight, you've got game 4 of the Celtics next with New York leading 2-1. Celtics finally got the 3-ball falling there in that game on Saturday. And then it's 2-1 Minnesota on top of the Warriors with that game 4 tonight as well in the NBA playoffs. So there you go, a quick update on the NBA. On to the walk-off.
High drive, deep left, grand slam! And back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Grady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
So in the walk-off, 2 quick stories. One, sports-wise, there's a report out there I saw last night that the Chiefs could be opening the 2025 season on the road against the LA Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Sounds like the Chiefs could be in that game that they got to go down to Brazil and play in. So just letting you know, Chiefs fans, first game number 1 could be more than likely on Prime or something like that down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's the report. We'll see. I think the schedule comes out here on Wednesday. And how about a story I saw here over the weekend? A guy found $135,000 somewhere. I don't know where he found it. Don't know how he did it, but he found $135,000 somewhere. He turned it in, being the good citizen that he is. He got $500 back. $135,000 he finds just somewhere, turns it in, gets $500 back. That did not work out well for that guy. Feel bad. Probably should have just kept a few. Maybe they should have just only found, 125. Kept 10K for himself and got, anyway, sad deal there. That'll do it for our program today. Thanks to Ryan Carter, and thanks, of course, to you for listening. We're back tomorrow on a Tuesday for another edition of the Morning Blitz. We will see you then. Have a good Monday.
Rocket 102.5 is KKCI Goodland.